All right, well, it's 6 o'clock on the dot, so we'll go ahead and start. I want to first of all welcome all of you to our coastside office. So for those of you who haven't been here before, my name is Ray Mueller, Mateo County Supervisor here in District 3. And then we opened this coastside office last year, actually, in response to residents who I spoke to during the campaign season, who said that it was really difficult to go ahead and go over the hill and meet with people from the county. And so we've had this office open for multiple events, and we're open actually when we're not having events. So I was spent all day here today. People come on and drop by. So if you ever have any questions, if you want to engage with us, whether I'm here or my staff is here, we try to keep this open, and we have hours on the door so that we can go ahead and serve folks here. I appreciate you all coming tonight. Obviously, we're here to talk about Mirada Rd. And just for those of you who I haven't had a chance to meet with yet, I want to go ahead and just explain a little bit of background. And so what happened is, and what we've seen happening up and down the coast, is that the coast, our coastal infrastructure is reacting to that beautiful Pacific Ocean differently than it has in the past. We've seen that through these storm systems the last 2 years. We see that right now in Pacifica. What's happening is that there are some areas of Pacifica. I mean, I think you all heard about the mobile home park that fell into the ocean. But what has happened is there's actually the water starting to come up under the seawalls in certain neighborhoods, and the backyards are starting to drop. And so it's a big difference in terms of what we've seen, when we see water actually coming forward now, not just hitting those walls, but they're coming up underneath them. And so we saw that happening recently down Highway 1, just south of Pescadero. What's happened is the water's come up, and I don't know if you had a chance to see it, but the highway dropped. It literally cracked and dropped. And then what we see happening, obviously, on Mirada Rd is you see that wave coming over. We have lots of pictures of that. I think you've all seen that coming over. But what we also see happening is that there's something that we were concerned was happening underneath that road, destabilizing it. And so wanted to go ahead and take a good look at what that looked like. Because obviously cars were going up and down that area. And so to have it open up the way it did, in conversations that I had with our Public Works Department and with their planning and with engineers, is that we wanted to take a really good look and understand what was happening there, that interaction with the ocean. Because what we didn't want to do is just throw a slurry down and pave it over, and then if it was destabilized, have it fall apart immediately again. You have to understand too, because there's utilities going through that roadway, what's happening there so that we don't lose those utilities with a covered patch. So all of that is things that went into the decision to go ahead and really approach this very seriously. I know in the past, in talking with some of you, that what's happened in the past is that slurry gets just thrown down and then gets repaved, and then the next year it's the problem again. First off, we can't proceed like that anymore. The ocean's demanding that we can't proceed like that anymore. We have to figure out how we're going to proceed forward differently to go ahead and protect those properties and also protect and make sure it's safe along that roadway. And so what you'll hear tonight from Ann and our experts here in the Department of Public Works is how they're proceeding with that analysis. Fortunately, the world we find ourselves in is also some of the most regulated land certainly in the state. And so whatever we do that isn't an emergency repair, but a long-term repair, gets regulated obviously by the Coastal Commission. But we also have to deal with the wave interactions. One of the things that was asked me the last time I met with some residents on this issue a few weeks ago was the interaction with the breakwater. And what I said to you all is I really don't have jurisdiction in that area as the county. Mr. Pruitt's here with us tonight from the harbor, which I very much appreciate. He sent us a letter today, and I talked with him beforehand. I'm just going to read you the letter. I don't have editorial commentary on that, but to say that we do plan on bringing people together to discuss the contents of that letter as he requested. But just so that in anticipation of questions that might arise about that, I'll read that to you real quickly. Dear Supervisor Mueller, the Harbor District recently learned that you'll be hosting a community meeting on April 2nd to discuss Mirada Rd. As part of that discussion, the Harbor District believes it to be of importance to discuss the cause of the aggressive erosion at Mirada Rd and possible solutions to include federal funding. In studies conducted by the Army Corps of Engineers, the Corps has acknowledged and documented that the breakwater has changed the wave and current patterns in the northern Half Moon Bay. This change has caused a significant increase in the coastal erosion rate. The expected erosion rate for this area is 0.2 feet per year. However, due to the breakwater, the erosion rate is 1.6 feet per year. Its increase in coastal erosion has and continues to eliminate Surfers Beach and the protection it provides against coastal erosion, severely compromise the coastal trail, and significant safety hazard for the public, eliminate the stair access to Surfers Beach, again creating a safety hazard to the public, place Highway 1, a vital transportation artery, at significant risk of damage by winter storms, reduce Mirada Surf West Park bluffs at a rate of 1.6 feet per year, and threaten the infrastructure within the area of erosion and threaten Miramar itself. In addition to state, county, and city responsibilities for public safety, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, ACOE, under Section 111 of the River and Harbor Act of 1968, as amended, has the authority and responsible for mitigation and prevention of shore damage attributable to valuable navigation works. The outer breakwater, which created Pillar Point Harbor, as a federal navigation project now described, has caused damage to the coastline. And then there's more to this. I'm not going to read the rest of it, but what it basically asks us to do is to discuss the matter further. The Harbor District recommends that and would be available to host a joint meeting between yourself, the county, City of Half Moon Bay, Caltrans, One Shoreline, Army Corps of Engineers. I'll let Mr. Pruitt know tonight that, of course, we'll go ahead and meet and take that opportunity and meet on that and try to go ahead and see how we interact with that infrastructure there. It's certainly something we need to take into account as we figure out how to go ahead and protect this area and roadway. But what I really know, I know there's frustration around this issue, but I wanted to just go ahead and say to everyone, we really are trying to figure out how to protect this roadway for the long term. We really do see a changing coastline that requires more extensive planning to do so. So thank you for this evening. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Public Works. If you have any questions after this, you don't have to ask me tonight if you're not comfortable talking to us, but you want to ask me later. Please feel free to call me on my cell. I give it out freely. It's 650-776-8995. If you just want to come here and meet with me or my staff, or you can call us at our office, we're happy to follow up with anyone. Thank you very much. So we went ahead and we prepared this evening to record this because we realized not everybody would be able to join us this evening, and we wanted to make sure rather than have to rely on hearsay notes, which I appreciate you taking, but just so that we really had as much detail as possible, we would have a videotape so people can view the videotape. Thank you so much. I'm going to stand still while the Director of Public Works is standing there.
All right, good evening. I'm Ann Stillman. I'm the Director of Public Works, and with me tonight we do have some folks from our department. I guess I can go to the next slide. Oh, not that slide. Let you know who's here. Christoph Lisai is here. Quavo is here. Christoph is in charge of the Engineering Resource Protection Division, and Quavo with Road Services. He has some of his team here. We have some folks from Office of Sustainability here as well. Thank you for coming. I'm glad we brought the extra chairs, and I'm glad that you're here tonight. So thank you very much. There is a sign-in sheet that has been at the back table. It's also been floating around. It's really helpful if we get your contact information so that we can stay in touch. So first off, just going through the agenda for tonight. Introductions and just rules of engagement, some of the background, what the current situation is out there on Mirada Road, a repair of Mirada Road, and kind of talk about short-term, mid-term, and long-term ideas and solutions, and then there will be a time for questions. So if we can sort of hold the questions and work on those at the end, that would be the best. And I know there's about 2 more chairs up front, so if people want more chairs up front, there's some in the back. And gosh, sometimes we have meetings and, I don't know, sewer rates, not very many people show up. So this is something else. All right, I did go through this already out of order and let you know some of the folks that are here tonight. Rules of engagement. You know, everyone is encouraged to participate. It's really helpful if you identify yourself when you're speaking so we can better understand your perspective and where you're coming from. It's important to listen to each other and be respectful of everybody's viewpoints. We don't have all the answers tonight for you today or tonight. We definitely are here to listen and to really better understand what you're thinking about, what your thoughts are, the environment out there, to ask for your input. And, all of this is really helpful as we think about, as Supervisor Mueller said, sort of looking towards the long-term work and solutions on Mirada Road. And the project website, which we've created, right here is the address for it, but that is really the best place for project updates. As we post information, we can push out information. You can go to the website and you can subscribe for updates. So when we post new information, it'll be pushed out to you. And that's very helpful in terms of getting information out to the public. Some of the past work. Some of you, I think, have lived in the area for a long time. You've probably seen efforts in the past. This is just a listing of some of the more recent work we've done. So in 2009, between Magellan and the pedestrian bridge, we added some more rock slope protection, or RSP, as emergency work. We also did some work in January 2016 near the pedestrian bridge at the south end. And then also in October of 2016, between Magellan and the pedestrian bridge. Maybe you saw some of that work. One of the projects that we worked on recently and completed is the Mirada Road pedestrian bridge replacement project. And you can see that we started the design in November 2018, and we started construction in June 2022. And we finished the construction really at the beginning of this year. Really, it was difficult working around the tides and working around the permitting requirements, but really pleased to be where we are on that particular project. Just reminding people of in April 2023, so about a year ago, our road division especially was out there. The folks that work on these roads, the coastside roads on a regular basis, we're really seeing some of the erosion and things that were taking place on the western edge of the roadway. They went ahead and we painted this, what we're calling buffer, to really keep people away from that area. That happened last year, and this is really the extent. We really painted this whole length of Mirada Road with this kind of treatment. And that's part of what you're seeing changing this year as well. What have we done? So we notified everybody that everybody in this particular area, and if you got the mailing, you would have seen who we notified with information about the department taking steps to make Mirada Road one-way between Mateo and Magellan. Then we took that action to put the double yellow, to put all the channelizers, and to add the white striping, add all the signage out there, to create a one-way northbound on Mirada. And that work was completed in the beginning of last month, March 6th, designated one-way. And Mateo and Magellan right now are both east and west. This is just sort of depicting some of the things to keep in mind, which is at the southern end. I mentioned we have the bridge. At the northern end is the trailhead, and then there's a lot of activity here in terms of, there's vehicular traffic, but there's also a lot of pedestrians and bicyclists that use Mirada Road. And that's part of, obviously, our findings that we're listing here. Is there's significant, you can see it in the pictures too, and you probably live it, so you see it too. A lot of people out there walking and biking and really enjoying the beautiful scenery that Mirada Road has to offer. We also, when we sent letters out to the public, or to the residents and property owners, we let them know that if you have any questions or comments, please send them our way. And so we just listed a sampling of what some of the comments were. Some people said, make Magellan one-way eastbound only. Some people like the one-way on Mirada going northbound. Some people say, fix Mirada Road. Other people are saying, when you have your businesses on Mirada, it's difficult for the customers to get there. At the intersections, or maybe specifically Magellan and Mirada, is feeling a little bit dangerous with all of the movements that are taking place there. because of the activity and the constraints on Mirada Road, some of the issues with sharing the roadway with pedestrians and bicyclists and vehicles. And some people are saying build a new road on Alameda, which is a road that's parallel to Mirada towards the east. So that's just a sampling of some of the comments we received. Moving on, just some more photos of what you probably see out there in terms of some of the existing damages and some of the usage. This is at Magellan. And like I said, a lot of people really love to use this roadway for, enjoying the out of doors. We also know that there's significant usage at the north end, people trying to get to the restaurant, and sometimes people are getting confused when they come down Magellan or having an issue with, I got to Magellan now, which way do I go? Because I can't go to the left because that would be southbound on Mirada. So those are just some things that we're certainly taking note of and we're seeing, and I bet you may be seeing some of that as well. Just some more pictures because, pictures are worth so much, right? But just some more pictures of what some of the conditions are looking like out there. And you can see that part of the work that we did here to keep people away from these areas, is really to protect people from, any problems that they may have trying to traverse or work through those particular areas. I would say that the damages, they vary from spot to spot and location to location. It's not the same thing throughout the whole length of Mirada. So when you walk it and take a look, you'll just see different damages and different extent as you walk through there. And, as you've probably been out there at different times. Maybe you've seen some of the wave action. It is pretty significant in terms of what can take place out there. And just knowing, and I think the supervisor mentioned it too, is that we do also work it within a regulatory environment in terms of working in some of the beautiful areas that we have here in the coast side, but just some visuals on what the wave action sort of looks like out there. This is close to Magellan, but that's sort of damaging to our roadways. And then just some of the activity that takes place, obviously folks going the wrong way. These are just some more pictures of especially kind of like what's happening. There's what's happening at Magellan and Mirada, and thinking about ways to potentially improve upon that. Definitely Magellan is very parked out at certain times of the year and days of the week, and especially when it's beautiful out. I think many people head over. I was out there last Friday and I was the only car parked on Magellan. It was raining, but I think what it says to me though too is that the need for parking and the usage and the activity that takes place out there really certainly varies as well. I kind of mentioned a lot of this, which is just what happens at the intersection of Magellan and Mirada, and it's pretty, Magellan, when you're all parked out and you've got traffic in both directions, it's pretty hard to make a U-turn or turn around when you realize you're in the wrong spot. We know, as I've mentioned, the restaurant is here at the northern corner, and I think they've opened up a couple of their driveways off of Magellan to help their customers be able to access their parking lot, which otherwise is accessed generally from Coronado. And also I think that these driveway entrances help with delivery of materials with the larger trucks that they have for their business. These are just some pictures, like I mentioned, just some pictures of what things look like when Magellan is pretty parked out, and then, either people turning into the restaurant, or you've gone down to the end and you realize, I'm in the wrong spot. How do I turn around? So one of the things that we've been thinking about is how to reduce those conflicts and what's taking place out there and how to improve upon that. So some of the ideas that we certainly have is that although we've put a lot of signage out on Mirada, and even some signage on Highway 1 that you've probably seen regarding detour. Maybe there's more signage that needs to be placed out there to help reinforce which way people need to drive or not drive. Also some ideas for Magellan to reduce some of the conflicts between the pedestrians, the bicyclists, and the vehicles could be limiting some of the parking, so posting some areas as no parking. And particularly near the trailhead on Magellan, maybe that's another area where we could reduce or eliminate parking to free up some more space. And then another thing would be to consider whether Magellan should be just eastbound, one-way eastbound, which then would really drive all of the traffic up Mirada and then out. So that's another item to consider and think about. Just to mention that if Magellan were to become one-way eastbound, changes would need to occur to Highway 1 to preclude some of the turning movements, because we wouldn't allow anybody to turn then into Magellan from Highway 1. So that would have to take place too. So just pointing that out. And then just some additional work that we would like to do to better understand existing conditions and think about the future. We really don't have any traffic counts right now. So what's a traffic count? I mean, we don't have counts on how many vehicles, bicycles are using the roadways out there. That helps us understand some of the routes that people are taking and the different patterns. That would be informative in terms of next steps. Needs of the community, traffic patterns and needs of community is something that we need to learn more about and better understand. Also, the way that the road is configured right now, one-way north, just to put it out there, we see that being in place for the foreseeable future. So right now, one-way north is what we're envisioning for a while until we get to something that's more of a permanent work or solution. And then, part of our process is learning from understanding from the community, understanding what the inputs are and the wants and the needs. And at this point, I get to turn it over to Christoph. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. So Christoph Lisai, Deputy Director in the Engineering and Resource Protection Group. My team is the one that typically runs the permanent projects where we do repairs, things like that. And so we have started looking at Mirada Road and started to identify some of the challenges. And so as mentioned previously, obviously the coast is very dynamic and has been challenging over the last several years, particularly the last 2 years. I think everybody can see the kind of accelerated damage to Mirada, and not only Mirada, but really up and down the coast. Pacifica is a really good example. City of Santa Cruz is having similar issues, and then Highway 1 up and down the coast as well. The coast is changing, and again, the recent events accelerated the Mirada Road issues and damages. We had the huge storms back in 2022, as well as the more recent kind of ongoing storms this last year, which definitely had a significant impact. And then the projects on Mirada Road are complicated, as folks have said. We have multiple stakeholders, not only us, there's also the City of Half Moon Bay. We also have to work within a regulatory framework, Coastal Commission, U.S. Army Corps, as well as others. And so we have to kind of weave between that regulatory framework as well as the needs of the local community to get to a place where we have a project that makes sense for everybody. And then another issue is specific funding for this project has not been identified. What we've found, both with emergency work and long-term work, is it's very costly. And so that's definitely going to be something that we're going to be working towards. As far as some of the stakeholders that we've identified, I think people probably are aware there's several utilities out there. There's the Granada Sanitary District. They have a sewer line that runs basically from the north side of the bridge to Magellan. There's Coastside County Water, which also has some water facilities out there. PG&E, gas and electrical. Looks like part of the electrical is overhead, but gas is likely underground, obviously. And then the cable TV internet providers that attach to all the joint poles that run along the east side of Mirada. Obviously, the City of Half Moon Bay. More than half of the project and all of the RSP, or a good portion of the RSP, or the rock slope protection, is actually within the City of Half Moon Bay jurisdiction. So that makes it a challenge. And then some of the coastal regulatory people we work with. So the California Coastal Commission, they're going to be definitely some of the critical path for us, trying to get through their processes, both as we work on the emergency permit and any long-term fix. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, they also have a say related to just sensitive species on the beach, and so we have to work with them. At times we work with California Department of Fish and Wildlife. And then obviously you guys, residents, businesses, we want to make sure we engage you from the onset. We work collaboratively to get to a point where we're all working on this together on a project that makes sense for everybody. And then potentially others to be determined. Sounds like Harbor District potentially is another stakeholder where we're willing to engage with us that I think will be vital. So we did break this down into short-term, midterm, and long-term. And so short-term is what we're considering the emergency work. We're looking at a time horizon of 0 to 1 years. So trying to get out there basically this summer to get something done. Really the goals of the short-term projects are going to be to prevent further damage or deterioration of Mirada Road. We want to make sure that we are able to restore as much of Mirada Road as possible through the emergency work. And obviously, this is all going to have to happen under emergency permits. So we've worked with the Coastal Commission before in an emergency setting, so we have that experience, but we're definitely going to leverage outside consultant work that do this kind of day in, day out. We want to make sure that we can get the permit in and not have any issues, not have any back and forth with the Coastal Commission or any other regulators so that we can get out there and do the work. Things that we've been looking into, so adding additional RSP to the beach. I mean, the whole goal is to kind of work to deflect the wave energy and run up and things like that. RSP, rock slope protection, is a proven way to armor the coast. There's obviously a bunch of RSP that was installed along Mirada Road. And so one way to add protection to the beach is either reconfiguring the existing RSP or adding to it. We've looked into filling some of the voids in the roadway with either slurry or asphalt. Another option for us is to cover the edge of the bluff with geosynthetics. And so that's like a fabric that we would put with the goal of that is to keep the dirt from washing back out onto the beach. And so if you're able to install that, adds protection against run up and then protects also against scour or washing out of the roadway. Polymer or grout injection in the roadway, which is another way just to kind of try to stabilize the base and try to keep it intact so that when it gets hit by wave action, it stays in place. And in all likelihood, it's probably going to be a combination of some of these. And so that's what we're trying to figure out is which combination of these gets us kind of the most protection we can get in the shortest amount of time that will be accepted by the permitting agencies. Another part is we're still in the data gathering phase. We're looking to obtain the road right-of-way information for Mirada Road. The road right-of-way and jurisdictional lines are a little bit wonky there. Like I said, it's generally a 60-foot right-of-way for Mirada Road, and then that's split between the county and the city of Half Moon Bay. The road is not installed in the center line, and so we're actually looking to the east side of Mirada Road to see how much real estate we have there within the county right-of-way, if there's an opportunity there. We've been in communication with other cities or jurisdictions that are running through similar issues that are maybe a little bit further along, just to try to see if we can learn from them. Definitely trying to build off of best practices from other areas. So we've had calls with the city of Pacifica, as Supervisor Mueller mentioned. They're working on a big seawall project over kind of by their pier. We've also researched some of the information for the city of Santa Cruz. West Cliff Drive is a big area. It's similar to Mirada Road, and they're actually in construction right now. A little bit difference between both of those is they've been working on that work generally for about 5 years, so they're definitely much further ahead than us, but whatever we can do to learn from what they've had to deal with the Coastal Commission, do's and don'ts during engineering, things like that. We want to engage with some consultants for the regulatory approach. Again, we don't deal with the Coastal Commission often, and so whatever we can do to leverage the consultants that are out there that do this, we want to take that opportunity. And then obviously working with the city of Half Moon Bay, as I think they're going to be a key player in this as well. As far as remaining work, we do have, we're looking into the potential of expanding Mirada Road to the east. If the desire from the community is to restore a two-way access, there is a potential that we have some opportunity there, but it does have impacts to people's frontages. It is within the county's right-of-way, and some of it's built out, and so something that we're looking into. It's not something we've decided on, but it's just another option for us to explore as we look through all the options. Right now, we're developing alternatives, and then through the alternatives process, we'll work to develop plans, which we'll then submit for the emergency permit application. So that'll go through the Coastal Commission. Like I said, we've done that a few times when we placed RSP in 2019 and 2016 around the bridge. And then obviously we work with them on the bridge permit. And then construction, we're hoping to get out there as soon as possible, but in all likelihood this summer. The restrictions on working on the beach are typically June 15th is the permit conditions that we had on the bridge. And so we're going to be working to make sure we kind of tie in with those restrictions. We also are looking at what we're called the midterm, which is about 1 to 5 years out. And so this would be the more permanent repair project or restoration of Mirada Road. Some of the steps that we've identified, I think one of the first things we're going to be looking for is a funding source to support the work, both in terms of the design as well as construction. The work that we're going to be doing is going to be costly based on our experience with Mirada Road Bridge. And so whatever we can do to leverage grant funding, funding with cost shares with the local agencies, things like that, we're going to try to identify. We also want to develop a consultant team to do this work. We don't have the capacity in-house to do all of this, and so we definitely leverage consultants. So that's going to be a team of civil engineers, geotechnical engineers, environmental consultants to help us work through the process. We're looking to develop a team that's done this before and done it successfully. And so we're working with, again, City of Pacifica, Santa Cruz, all these other kind of agencies that have already gone through it successfully to see if we can potentially use similar consultants. I think a big piece of it is going to be the outreach and engagement, right? I mean, we're here starting the conversation with you guys, and I anticipate that there's going to be several additional community meetings trying to identify what the goals of the project are. We want to engage with the community, both the residents, the businesses, as well as the recreational users. We want to make sure that we're having all interests included in this. From there, we're going to be developing the project priorities, and then that's going to inform the scope of work, right? Part of this is I'm trying to understand what everybody wants the future of Mirada Road to look like. And so through the engagement, we're going to try to get there. We have existing documents that we need to review, both at the county level and the state level. The county has several documents that addresses sea level rise, climate adaptation on the coast. The state has similar documents, and so we need to adhere and align whatever we're doing on Mirada Road with already established practices at the county, as well as the state. And then again, identifying and applying for grant opportunities. There's definitely a lot of money out there for these types of projects, and the fact that it is along the coastal trail, I think helps us a lot because multimodal type work is much more easily funded than just, let's say, restoration of a road or protecting a road. And so we're definitely going to try to package the applications to leverage as much grant funding as possible. The state is actually working towards, in the November election, they're putting a climate adaptation bond on the ballot. They're looking to raise about $6 billion for climate adaptation for California. And if that passes, we've already identified that as a potential source. Once we've identified the scope and the money piece, then we actually can work on developing plans and specifications. Again, it's an iterative process. We work with the regulators to make sure that we are getting input along the way. So that takes several months to a few years to develop. In parallel, we'll be applying for permit applications and talking with the regulators, bidding the project, and then constructing the project. And again, the 1 to 5 year horizon is based on what we experienced on the Mirada Road Bridge. We started the design of that project in 2018 and finished construction just last year. As far as what we're thinking about as potential alternatives and things that we'll be bringing to the community. And so this is not all inclusive. This is just based on some brainstorming we've done. So no project or continue to provide the basic level of maintenance from Mirada Road after the emergency work is completed. And so the only reason we have this as an option is whenever you do any kind of feasibility analysis, you always have to compare it to a new project. I don't think that's something that the department or the county would recommend as something that we would be pursuing, but we include it as the baseline of what we're comparing against. Inland development, so this would be, again, continue to provide a basic level of maintenance from Mirada Road, and then develop a new 1 or 2 lane road on Alameda, connecting Mateo Avenue and Magellan Avenue. Again, we want to make sure, and our goal is to maintain Mirada and protect it as much as possible. And the goal of this is to just kind of help with circulation, traffic flow, I think whatever we can do in the interim and long-term to keep cars off of Mirada, I think the better off we'll be. It looks like there is a paper street or a portion of road that hasn't been developed on Alameda, and so that's something that we'll look into. Another option we're going to look into is repair Mirada Road as a one-lane road, which is kind of what you see now. Repair Mirada Road to a two-way road, which is what was existing, and I think ultimately what our goal is. And then re-envision Mirada roads, both in terms of use and destination. And so again, just kind of off the top of our heads, this is the 5 things we've looked at. And in all likelihood, it's going to be a combination of these 6, where we kind of pick and choose certain pieces to make this hybrid option that makes sense for everybody. Again, the future of Mirada roads and the alternatives to be discussed are going to be determined and discussed through a very robust community engagement process. And so we're definitely looking forward to start that and start engaging with the community to understand what your guys' needs and wants are. As far as what the midterm project needs to have, so things we've identified, we definitely want to balance residents' needs, so that's traffic circulation as well as access for the homes that have driveways and access on Mirada Road. There's several businesses on Mirada Road. We want to make sure we keep their interests in as well, both in terms of access to the businesses that front Mirada Road, as Ann mentioned, in terms of deliveries and just customers. Recreational needs, one of the core values of the coastal commissions and one of the big things that they always review permit applications against is beach access, maintaining or improving or creating new beach access. And so recreational needs, access to the beach, a coastal trail, maybe there's an opportunity to do some kind of multimodal approach on the road where we're able to maintain vehicular access, but then also do a bike ped type situation. We always have to balance the regulatory framework, the Coastal Commission, Army Corps. One thing that the Coastal Commission has started to say is they want nature-based solutions in all of their work. And so we're not really sure what that looks like on Mirada Road yet, but that's one thing that we're going to be looking to explore. Things I've seen in other areas are kind of like live walls where you can plant them and establish habitat, things like that. And so whatever we do, we kind of try to make it as environmentally friendly as possible. Generally, the Coastal Commission is against walls, seawalls, and so we're going to have to find that balance of how do we protect it while still meeting their kind of core values. Budget, again, identifying and securing funding is going to be important. Talking with the city of Pacifica, they're estimating that their project is going to be in the range of $80 million. For that piece, I mean, it's much larger, it's a larger scale and there's seawall, but that's a significant amount of money that, the department of the county just hasn't set aside for this type of work. And so looking to see where we can get that money. There's lots of grants out there and we've worked with the city of Pacifica to identify to see what they got. Similarly, the city of Santa Cruz, their work that they're doing, which is similar to scale to ours, was around $18 million for their construction work. So as you can see, it's expensive. And then schedule, right? All the different options will have different schedules. Obviously, we want to get out there and fix the road and complete the work as soon as possible, but it does take time to do the analysis. There's several reports we need to develop. There's several different alternatives we need to analyze. And so all of that takes time. And then ultimately, whatever the scope of work we develop has different schedules as well, the duration to construction. Finally, there is the long-term plan for Mirada Road, which will consider the 5 to 30-year horizon. And, we want to start thinking about ultimately the long-term vision of Mirada Road now so that we don't do things in a silo or a bubble. We want to make sure that our short, mid, and long-term projects are able to tie and complement one another. We don't want to go out there, do some emergency work, and then have to rip it out, do another project, and then come back and have to rip out everything. We also want to know what the long-term vision is for Mirada, right? And I think we need to be proactive and realistic with what we're going to experience in the next 30 years. We always look at the latest available guidance, both in terms of sea level rise and climate change, and that changes almost on a yearly basis. The projections are only getting worse. And so we need to be realistic about, what is Mirada Road really going to look like in 30 years? And then utility relocation, I think this ties into kind of the mid and long-term option, but there's several utilities on Mirada Road that likely would want to relocate as we work and as we kind of get past the midterm project. So the sewer lines, the water lines, I think the more utilities we can get off of Mirada Road, I think the more better off we'll be. And ultimately, we do want a resilient Mirada Road, and that results in an area that meets the needs of the community, preserves coastal access, and then reduces the maintenance costs for the county, right? I mean, we don't want to be out there on a year-by-year basis, plugging, patching, restoring. We also don't want to get to a place, so the city of Pacifica, part of their permit application is they have to do something called sand replenishment. And so every 10 years, they have to haul in $5 million worth of sand to replenish the beach. And so that's part of the conditions that we'll have to work through with the Coastal Commission and the other regulatory agencies, but whatever we can do to avoid kind of the long-term maintenance cost, I think is where we're trying to end up. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions? The slides will be posted online. So if you guys go to this website, we'll post the slides. We'll also post the recording of the presentation and any kind of new information. There's a subscribe now button. Whenever anything new gets posted, you get an email blast. All right.
And then I think this is Pacific Coast TV or PCT that's recording, and then we'll work to hopefully either post it on our project website or post a link to it. And for the Q&A, I think we need to use a microphone and pass it around to ensure that we get the questions, okay? So just wanted to introduce that part.
Just start at the front and work our way back. And you need to come up with
Did you do any outreach to One Shoreline to see if they had any grant funding?
Not yet.
Okay. And I live in Seal Cove, and our roads have been in pretty bad shape for quite a while. Any plans to do anything out there?
Yeah, we've seen San Lucas and Ocean Avenue. We are going out there and doing a kind of preliminary analysis, some geotechnical work for Seal Cove. And so that should be starting in the next few months just to kind of understand what happened recently. But I know that area has historically been prone to movement. Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Paul McGregor, 171 Coronado Avenue, Miramar. I'm looking at, you had a Department of Public Works capital preservation project for this particular area. I'm going to read it. It's off your website. Mirada Road Erosion Project. This project will construct a retaining wall system along the ocean side of Mirada Road between Royal, De Medio, and Magellan Avenue to protect the existing roadway from future erosion. I don't hear any of that tonight in your proposals or anything else like that. The retaining wall system will also protect the existing utility infrastructure from destructive wave action during high tides and storm events. The project will invariably include converting the two-way vehicular traffic roadway to a one-way road with sufficient space allocated to pedestrian and bicycle facilities. Project budget, $2,587,000. Estimated completion date, summer of 2020. What happened to this project?
Yeah, so I know that Supervisor Horsley at the time was able to secure funding for the work on Mirada Road. During that time, I think what happened is we had the project identified for Mirada Road, and then the bridge failed. And so that money was then transferred over to the bridge project so that we could focus on the bridge. It was just a decision, that was an immediate need that we needed to address. If you guys are familiar, there was a concrete arch during one of the recent storms in 2022 that actually ended up collapsing. And so then we had to move funds into that project to support the design and construction of that work.
I think it was Measure K funding, but I'm not sure about that. I think it was Measure K funding is what I was thinking. And I think it was, like Christoph said, it had to be moved to deal with the other issue that we had to take care of on the road. Questions?
Hey, Christoph, Greg Gaze, MCC, you may recall back in February 21, I walked this site with Don Horsley, and he convinced me that the county would fund $1.2 million for the new bridge if we got the MCC to change its vote. So I did, and we built the bridge. And as you mentioned, there was a storm that hit before we even got finished with the design. We had to extend the span, and as I recall, the ultimate cost was $4.7 million. So my question is, what about the causal dynamics? I didn't see an analysis of what's causing the problem. And this may bear on what your Pruitt is saying and the seawall. So wouldn't it make sense to first understand what could be done about the cause before we narrow in on more and more patching? Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think from the county's and DPW's point of view, I think definitely trying to understand the root cause of the erosion, and it sounds like the revetment or the breakwater is a significant contributor to that. You know, that's not something our department does. That's something that would probably live in the planning department, but it's a valid point. You know, we can see if there's been any past kind of analysis of looking. I know planning is definitely looking into several different sea level rise and climate adaptation plans along the coast. I believe there's one in progress right now, and I don't know if that's the type of stuff that's included in there, but I feel like that's something that our planning and building department would take on and lead.
Hi, Catherine Smith Carter. Quick disclaimer, I'm speaking as an individual, not as a member of the Harbor District, not as a member of Sewer Authority in Coastside, and not as a member of MWSD. I've lived on the coast for 44 years, and the breakwater was put in 1960. This is a problem that has been making itself into a disaster for the last 60 years. And first of all, I need to say there are some major, you need to check with Sewer Authority mid-coastside and see if there are any pipelines there. And you're not a sanitary community, I'm sorry, we're not a community district.
Services district.
They do have pipes in.
Yeah,
Right.
they do.
In the last 60 years, we've learned that a systematic and design with nature and design with natural forces practice makes a big difference. We need to be looking at the immediate area and the extended area around it, because it's clearly we're losing part of Highway 1, just a little ways ahead. I think a temporary fix is really, really important for the community, for the people who live there, for the people, for the businesses. But we need to take a larger view and work with Army Corps of Engineers. All the effects of this breakwater need to be made public, including all the way down to Pillarcitos Creek, because that whole estuary has been impacted by it. This is not just a little problem for San Mateo County. This is a problem that was cast on all of us by the Army Corps of Engineers and their expert engineering 64 years ago. Please include beach access parking and references and look at Coastal Act and at our local coastal program chapters 10 and 11, because parking is a critical part of beach access, and there's people who are ill, people who are handicapped, people who can't walk a long ways to the beach, and they would like to pull over and see those magnificent views. It's a very special place in the world. Also, for the long term, look at the Army Corps of Engineers and consider looking at an artificial reef. They're used to protect the Mississippi River and Delta from flooding. They've been used all over the world, and they can be designed to keep surfing good for everyone who surfs there, and newcomers too. And it will eliminate the erosion. And we can rebuild the beaches. If you've looked at the beaches, the old photos, you could drive on those beaches. You could walk out 100 yards at low tide. We need to put that back. And I think an artificial reef, I'm not an engineer, but I've certainly followed the progress that has been made in other harbors. Do see effects, not so much of coastal and sea level rise, but of human development and human changing of the terrain. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't think that microphone is working.
It's internal mic, so you can be on the computer, but in here you have to protect a little.
Maybe I'll be very louder. This is Trip Chaudhary. I've been here with my family for almost 27 years. Last year we had huge storms. Many trees fell on many homes. FEMA was very proactive and very fast with their aid. The damage that we see on Mirada is storm related, it is natural disaster. Why are not we getting the funding from FEMA? That's number one. We will explore that. Second, we should not congratulate ourselves and be self-congratulatory by saying the bridge that was built is great. 6 years, 2018 to 2014, to just make that little bridge. It's a joke. We have our friend Paul McGregor, who I have a privilege of meeting for almost 15 years. Give him 6 years, he can build the whole township bridges. And what I'm saying is, there should be no excuse for delay. This 30 years, you won't be here for 30 years, I won't be here for 30 years. We have to talk in terms of weeks and months, not years. So when you say short term, what are you going to do in the next 4 weeks? When it's midterm, what are you going to do for the next 6 months? Long term, what are you going to tell us next year at this time? So those are the things we expect from our county. We have a great supervisor with us this time. I have the privilege of knowing him before he became the supervisor. He is a man of action. He has zero tolerance for delays. He has zero tolerance for BS. So we have to think what else we can do, think out of the box, get FEMA funding, and let's get this whole two-way thing. Let's not look for alternatives. It's very simple from a, just a software and data perspective. We just have to put a retaining wall, get the funding from FEMA, and whole community is behind you, and we go back to normal. Natural disasters happen. It is not an accident. It is normal way of life. That's all. Thank you.
Sure. As far as FEMA, to become FEMA eligible, there's certain criteria that the road needs to meet. One, it needs to be damaged during a disaster period, which this recent damage was not included in any kind of declared FEMA disaster. So we're not able to leverage any kind of FEMA emergency funds. FEMA does have other grant programs that we are going to look into. BRIC is one. There's a couple other ones, HGMP. City of Pacifica was able to get shortlisted for a BRIC grant for $50 million for their work. And so that's definitely something we're going to explore as part of this work. Definitely understand your frustration with the timeline, but unfortunately, it's not something we control. If we could, we would be out there fixing it, right? But we have to work within the regulatory framework we live in. The Coastal Commission is really where this project is going to live and die. It takes time. As part of the application process, we're probably going to have to develop anywhere from 5 to 8 different reports, sand supply studies, geotechnical studies. All of that takes time. As far as the emergency work, next 4 weeks, we're going to be working on developing the emergency application and working to identify what that scope of work is so we can submit it, so we can get out there and start the construction. Unfortunately, those are just the realistic timeframes for the mid and long term.
Questions?
Yeah, my name's Barbara Ridging, and I live on, or I have property on Mirada Road. Sort of related to the questions that all have been asked here, I'm still not very happy with the timeline. I really don't understand how it is in Santa Cruz after the 22-23 storms. They had major riprap going out within weeks. That was their short-term solution. Already, a year and a half later, they are done or pretty close to done, with 3 to 4 major infill and bridge work on West Cliff. Why aren't we done? I mean, we could be done right now. Related to the last gentleman's question, what can we do to light a fire under you? This should have been done years ago. And the questions that you have up there are just so general. We could have all done that in a week. We were told we had to wait 2 months for this meeting. I thought there was going to be some big revelation about why this is happening. And you keep saying that it's happening because I guess the implication is global warming, that things have changed. No, just as the lady said, what happened was the harbor was built. This has been going on for years. So how can we light a fire under you? Please answer this question. How did Santa Cruz do it? How did they get coastal commission? How did they get funding?
So Santa Cruz has been working on West Cliff Drive probably for the last 10 years. Yeah, Santa Cruz has been working on West Cliff Drive for the last 10 years. In 2018, they had a report and a feasibility, like a management document, I forget the exact name, that was developed and approved by the Coastal Commission that identified what they can do in certain situations. And that included the infill walls that you're talking about, as well as the RSP and emergency response. That was reviewed and vetted through the Coastal Commission. And so once that's reviewed and vetted, they're streamlined in being able to do kind of that intermediate emergency repair work. But infill walls, I mean, there's no way you can design and construct something like that in a couple months. I mean, they've been working on that for years, and the timing just worked out that after the large storm, they were ready and already had everything in place to be able to repair that work. But 2018 is when they developed their plan and that they're working off of to manage West Cliff Drive. And then now they're starting in even more, another set of community engagement to further define what West Cliff Drive is going to look like. Long-term, I mean, they're in a similar situation, right? They have a section that's a one-way road, a section that's close to local traffic, and a section that's just bike and ped access, so.
It's all being open now, though. So,
right.
Again, back to Paul's question, that some of these plans are already designed, so why aren't we ready to go? But, I thought these studies were done, and so.
No, I mean, we have work that we've completed for the bridge that we can use.
65 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay, my last question.
Put the money aside. You can't restudy a study and not get it done. You need to get this done. You have money set aside for this project. This is on your county website.
Right, and we talked
So
about
how many
that.
times do you have to study a study to get this?
Hey, wait.
Hold on.
Not doing that.
This is
If
embarrassing.
you're frustrated, then I'm gonna ask you to just please calm down and step outside of the side. I'm not gonna stand here and have staff be yelled at. I appreciate your frustration, but I'm not gonna allow county staff to be yelled at.
I have one last question, which is, I understood Anna Shu had something going on related to working with the Corps of Engineers and funding and it's some sort of subcommittee. Where is that? It seems like it's like on the verge of maybe getting approval, or what can we do to get that funding loosened up?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that, but we can talk we can reach out to our legislative folks at the county.
It's been in our local newspaper in the last couple of months. So.
Yeah, I mean, the funding's out there. I mean, there's the Caltrans has climate adaptation funding, the state, Army Corps, FHWA. There's a lot of funding out there. It's just, we're not there where we're able to apply for it yet. But we will be.
And can we set another community meeting soon so we can give you more input?
Well, I guess that's part of what I was thinking about too, is I'm hearing what people are saying about timing and get it done, and why didn't you heard all that? So I heard that, thank you very much. But I also want to know about, now that the one-way traffic control is in place, I want to understand how that's going, because, opportunities to modify that or tweak that, I want to know. What are you seeing? What are your thoughts? I mean, something I talked about was Magellan. It's two-way right now. I mean, their idea is maybe making it one-way eastbound only. I mean, what are you seeing? How is it working? What input do you have? Yeah,
Good and bad.
okay,
You know, the high traffic times, it's horrible, you know, of course during weekdays, it's fine.
on Magellan or Mirada or,
Magellan on Mirada.
uh-huh,
I think it needs to have more signage saying it's one way versus just do not enter.
right, so more signage. I mean, because I think that's, I mean, part of what, Qua's team did was they tried to really quickly, let's put together a traffic plan and post it and stripe it and put the channelizers out there to try to direct people. And so maybe there are enhancements we need to make to that to improve it, to help educate folks. I think that you probably experience people coming to the area that are not familiar with the area, and then they're kind of like, wait, which way do I go? And yet you have the folks that live there or frequent the area that are probably getting certainly pretty used to the pattern. So that's one immediate thing I wanted to better understand. So more signage is what I heard. So,
I'm
and
saying one way, not just do not enter, one way.
okay, one
People are
way.
saying do not enter, and then they come in that lane thinking, okay, I'll stay out of that lane, but I'll come into this lane.
So maybe where the streets that are going westbound intersect with Mirada are opportunities for signage, and then also there's more at Magellan potentially to inform people, because as you saw in the pictures, people are turning. Did you have?
May I say something?
I have something to say.
He was actually next, but I can get you right after.
I'm Bob Ramara. I live at 323 Mirada Road. And I want, first of all, thank you for a very professional presentation, very thorough, and I know it's not easy to put that together. But I've lived on Mirada Road for 39 years. I've been to four meetings, very similar to this, very nice presentation. Yet I find myself here today. It is frustrating.
I don't think I've been at all those presentations over the last 39 years, so I wonder, what do we say? No, I'm just kidding. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, thank you.
I'm Sharon York. I'm the 265 Alameda Avenue, and we've been residents. My husband is native to the side. We've lived together in Hathaway for 23 years, and I've seen a lot of changes and things going on. For me, safety is a very big issue, and it has been for quite a long time, since when I was active in the community emergency response team. So I'm always looking at things in the eyes of how can this be safer for the community. And what I see right now on the road is that there are portions of the water that are narrower than they should be. And Christoph spoke to this earlier in the presentation about reclaiming part of the right of way. Now, there's a particular property that's on the corner of Mirada and Cortez. It's 101 Cortez. And there is a fire hydrant that is in the middle of this landscape that has encroached at least 8 to 10 feet into Mirada. I have watched, as I've been walking up the street, people were trying to walk on the eastbound side as a car is also trying to pass. People are not always walking in that area where you've got the little the barriers that are there, right, with the lines to kind of delineate, okay, this is a non-car area, but it's pedestrian area. But that's not really being safe, because there's this active funneling that's still going on, and that funneling is encroaching further and further towards the lane, and it's open. So some people choose to walk on the east side of the northbound lane. And I've seen a car come in inches of a person who's walking there. Because people don't have common sense. Well, maybe I should wait for this person. It's a little bit further up, so they don't think that way. So we have to create a safer environment for those people. So I think, so this is one of 2 points I'm going to make. It does need to be a short-term priority to reclaim those portions of Mirada that have been taken over by vegetation encroachment and patio encroachment. There are a few properties there that have kind of extended their little ocean front, frontage for their guests of their property, which, is a lovely thing, but it's not safe because it's too narrow. So it's the block in between Cortez and Coronado that I'm speaking of. That's very, very narrow. So I'd like to see you make a priority of making that wider. The other thing is in terms of Magellan and making that safer, because it's a nightmare on the weekends and worse now, is if you were to make it one way, which I support permanently, it being one way, you can create safer parking and safer passage for pedestrians. If you took one of those two lanes, and I think it should be the north lane, and did diagonal parking there, you still have, I believe, and I'm not a road engineer, so that's your job, a full lane for a car to pass. Now, the question still remains, are you creating space for pedestrians still? If so, I'm thinking that somehow you would be able to capture a wider lane going eastbound that I guess pedestrians would have to share with cars, but maybe you'd have more space for them to share the road safely. So those are the two things that I would like to see, at least in the short term. Long term, I'm for this Santa Cruz project, where you backfill it and you make Mirada two directions again. And I would support that if it comes to that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
She wants to have a speed limit on our road. I see cars going not fast, but too fast.
So I live on Magellan, so first of all, I think the California Coastal Commission is needed for they're just working on managed retreat. So this is an already existing road, and I feel like we're already retreating into one lane from two lanes. And I don't know what the California Coastal Commission's, what their incentive would be to approve anything. So it can drag on and drag on. So I guess my first request is, don't look for approvals from groups that probably won't give you the approvals unless you absolutely have to. I'll defer to you on what you absolutely have to. But I look at this as a road that already exists, fix it, bring it back to two lanes, because it looks like we're starting to get community used to just starting a retreat, right? Second, presentation should have a project plan. When are you going to have different pieces of paperwork done? What's your due dates and things of this nature so that we can follow along and we don't end up in a situation where Paul mentioned that we're supposed to be done in 2020, right? So let's get a nice ordered project plan that you guys have, action items, and commitments to the community so we can kind of move forward.
Thank you.
I can just say, so, and you're right, so there are, and I'm just gonna, the way I see it, we have two dependencies right now. The dependency we have is coastal commission, and the other dependency is money. All right, and so they're gonna need to develop a plan, and then we won't get the money for it. And I think people need to understand that. To do the project of an $18 million project, we're gonna have to we're gonna have to go out and get money from that. It means the project has to be probably close to shovel ready, or close to have some approvals before an agency is gonna give us money for that. That means we have to go with a plan in hand to the coastal commission. At that time, we're going to need to activate all of you to come down and speak in support of that plan. And that plan is going to have to be developed with Public Works and all of you to show their support around that plan. People will behind that plan, you'll get that. At that point, because I have to get money from our state, probably from our federal legislators, and then like a grant possibly, which requires letters of support, maybe some support from the state. But $18 million doesn't fall from the sky. I need to have that as close to shovel ready as I can. The next thing I'd say to you, sir, is one of the things that this project already has that people will be able to follow along, which is really critical, is that, and I think they shared that, is that transparent website. So that everything's developed, the information goes there so you can follow along with it. So that if at some point I go to them, as it appears to happen, and say I want to divert money that I did get for the project to something else, you all see that. As a supervisor, I can tell you, I want to get this project done. I don't want to be in this situation. Right now, I look like who knows how long I'll be your supervisor, but I don't want to be in the situation where I'm saying to you all again, here we go again, right? So we have to keep it on a timeline to do that, but there are some dependencies that slow this down, that you can't just say this will be done next year. Because we need to get a plan developed. We're gonna have to sit down with Mr. Pruitt and One Shoreline. And by the way, the question about One Shoreline has no money right now. Right now, the county's looking at how do we get, the One Shoreline board is looking at how do we even fund One Shoreline? Because there is no money for that. So the question, a few years back, I said, should we do a countywide tax? And people didn't want to do that. One Shoreline has no money to do these things. They go begging the state and Fed as well for projects. So I apologize that I can't move faster. If I could move it tomorrow, I would. But there's just some dependencies that actually put that horizon timeline out. And that's why they talked about that in the immediate time period. They are going to go in. I think you guys asked me, some of you when I first met with you, about putting down some slurry and covering. There is going to be stuff done to go ahead and try to go ahead and bring it back to an immediate condition. But that's not the fix. And we don't want to leave it that way this time. We want to do the long-term fix. So.
Right, there was a plan that was presented a number of years ago. Driving steel, making Mirada one way, driving steel plates in.
Yeah.
And it was presented to us like this is a finished plan. Now we're going to get the funding and we're going to go.
I don't know.
You know, we're going to go kick.
I don't know, so I'll be candid with you. I don't know.
Where's that the plan?
I don't know if the Coastal Commission approved that at that time, but I can tell you if they did, it's not valid right now.
I understand.
We got to
I
go.
do understand that.
Yeah.
But that's the frustration that we're all feeling all of this time is, it's not.
And I hear your frustration, and I'm not telling you that frustration is wrong, but all I can do is live in the present of where we are and how we move it forward now. So that's really what we want to do. We want to move it forward now.
You asked me input on the road, and I just wanted to say that I still think that it's a one-way situation is extremely dangerous. We have bicycles coming south on the trail, and they come around the corner and they're just coming straight down. We're driving up the road, and they have to dodge to the right. Because the tides have now starting to recede, I just really wonder what to do these short-term repairs. Can we not really restore the two-way situation again? I don't understand that, and I don't want it to be a short, a situation where we don't move on, obviously, to the longer-term solution. But I think if we can put some riprap in there and, throw the slurry down again, we should be able to have a two-way lane again. And the tides recede in the next 9 months, we'll be fine again. There's no, waves.
Right, and that's what we talked about is the short term, right? So that's what we're in the process of, and just like Christoph talked about, our typical permit window begins in the middle of June. So I think it's the beginning of April. I mean, we certainly have a lot of work to do, right?
But you guys are assuming it's one way, and I'm just questioning that.
Well, right now it is, though. Right now.
Can we, go back to two way? Because I see it extremely dangerous right now. I mean, I just don't see this sustainable at all.
Okay. So now, wait, the microphone, I see it's in the back, and then we need to move it because I want to hear from you too, so, pardon me?
Okay, I promise I'll be there. Okay, so I just like to go back to the previous project that you had planned for this, which was supposed to be done in 2020. Where did the funds for that project go? And hold on. And you must have done numerous studies, dealt with the Coastal Commission in order to be able to approve that project. Okay? Where did the money go? Okay, so now I'm going to add to this. What happened to the funds? Okay, we need a temporary fix until the final solution. I build homes and infrastructure. I get back a concrete truck in there, fill it full of slurry, and solve the problem in a matter of a day. You guys want to do studies on this and try to figure it out? It's common sense. It doesn't take that much to take a concrete truck and fill in the voids right there. All right, maybe you're worried about tying the riprap together. I don't think so. Okay, then the other thing, if you take a look at what Foster City did with their seawall, which cost $110 million, 6.2 miles, you could use that as a solution. But obviously you already had a solution in mind because something was set aside. You had plans, but The county failed to follow through with it. That was never mentioned in your report tonight. You didn't talk about any about that money being there or anything else like that. That worries me. Okay, so until we get a temporary fix, we need a final solution. Not weeks, months, years, we need short term. Because all these people that live in here, you have $1 billion worth of property in this neighborhood, not including the businesses that are being affected by this. Okay, now I'm gonna add to this. I'm building a house on Magellan right now. You wanna talk about an S show driving down that road on the weekend? It's a 40-foot wide right of way, and cars are parked all over the place. I see fire trucks going in, they can't get around. This needs to be a two-way street. It can't be a one-way street because lives are in danger. We have people that are having heart attacks on the beach. I see it all the time. It's in the Samson Day coming up here. That bothers me. That's a health and safety issue. And if you let this road deteriorate much more than it already has, you're gonna lose your sewer lines, water lines, and everything else that goes along that road. So if you want to sit back and wait and just take your time and study it for another 3 years, nothing's gonna happen. You need to take action. You need to do something, not just talk about it. As far as two-way street, it should be two ways on Magellan and Medium and Mirada. You need to restore it the way it was. You could put sheet piling behind the riprap on Mirada, all the way down. You can do it in a composite, you can do it in steel, you can stay up on the road and do this job, and then you can reset the boulders. It's not rocket science. This is really not that difficult. You know, you guys can tell me, oh, it's gonna take studies and this and that and everything else. No, it doesn't. It takes common sense. There's 40-plus homes in their neighborhood. There's a lot of businesses, and as I said, there's $1 billion worth of property there. I think we need to be represented sooner, not later. This can't take forever, otherwise we're gonna lose our livelihood. And if you live down there, you'd probably be fighting just like I am. You know, I think the sheep piling would be a good effect. I've already sent some information over to our wonderful supervisor. I've sent them that, maybe you can forward it along to you guys. And let's get something done sooner than later. Thank you.
I want to speak to the project that, just for a second, the project that you talked about that was on the website that was, I think Christoph mentioned that money was moved to the bridge. That project wasn't designed and permitted. So I just want to clear that, because I think what I heard you say is it was designed and permitted, why didn't you build it? That was not designed and permitted. I think it was more about Supervisor Horsley hearing from residents and property owners about what can be done on Mirada Road, and a solution or suggestion idea was a sheet pile wall, and what might that cost, and there's dollar values for it. So I just want to clarify that it wasn't designed and permitted, but it was a description, like you're showing me, a description with a cost, but not a fully permitted project, right? And that's part of the world, the regulatory world that we live within as well. Did you had a?
Yeah, I was
okay.
just going to say, Joe Carter, Ron Cortez. Paul mentioned sheet pile wall. I think before the meeting, I brought up sheet pile wall to you guys as well. And just so the rest of the group can understand, I walked out there today, and where the road sloughed off there, the original ground continues out probably from here to the podium, just sloping off. If we reach out there, clear the riprap back, reach out and drive sheets out there 8 feet further than the original roadway was, we could have a walking bike path, a walking path, and we could pour a cap on top of the sheet wall that people could sit on and enjoy the sunset, and then riprap from there. I mean, that's something that happens as you drive around. You can see these little agencies that have done that for their
Would you state your credentials?
what's that?
State your credentials.
Well, I'm involved with one of the largest civil engineering construction companies in the state, and I just want to make sure that we're exploring the opportunity to jump and do something under an emergency act, because we can get caught up in the quagmire for quite some time and doing this design, putting it out and whatnot. You can let an emergency contractor in there, and he can reach over there and drive those sheets out there 8 feet from the edge of the roadway, boom, that stops all of our problems right now. And then all the intermediate work can be done, the sewer, the underground, PG&E, all that work can be done. And then you can end up with a nice roadway, 2 lanes, both ways, with a bike path, and seating for, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of people down there every Friday and Saturday or Sunday.
And Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah, anytime that the sun shines, you know, the other side of the mountain comes over and enjoys that area. I mean, we ought to give them something to really, you know, you did a great job on the bridge, it looks fantastic. If we just tie that whole thing together, it would really look sharp and effective, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think sheet pile wall will, you know, last you a long time, 100 years. But also, what I just heard, Ray read the letter about the Corps of Engineers. They obviously know they're participating in this in some fashion. I mean, maybe it's time to get right to the core and say, hey, it's time to, it's an emergency. We're on board right now, but we need you guys on board. Let's go. You know, they can pull a lot of strings really fast. I've seen it happen before. Like I told you, when we were up at Fort Bragg and the whole Highway 1 slid down. I mean, we got a phone call on a Monday and we were there Tuesday. Okay? And there is no, hey, let's talk to the Coastal Commission. There's no, hey, you know, we need a crew up here right now. And you know, that does happen. It happens all the time. And we're in a critical spot right now with the sewer and everything else there. And just like you said, life safety, we got people that are having heart attacks and an accident. And we're just 1 or 2 weekends away from somebody getting hit.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I know that's a lot to just, that's a fire hose.
No, that's fine. That's good. I mean, well, the part of the purpose of the meeting is to hear from people, of course.
Yeah.
And that's part of, so we appreciate your input. Thank you. Also, I want to mention there are some graphics in the back too, and I think that Quan and his team have put some posted. So I don't know if there are things, comments that you have back there on the graphics, the maps. We welcome that as well.
It's Joe Rourke, resident of Miramar. You know, I support Paul's position in the sense that I'm not sure everyone's aware, but Mirada Road used to be Highway 1.
Yes.
So you can actually see Highway 1
You
right
can
now.
see the concrete down there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
It's concrete.
I know.
And it's
Seen it.
still there.
Yes, in some places.
When you use asphalt, it just crumbles and goes into the ocean, just causing environmental issues. So to Paul's point, you know, the other thorn in my side is the fact that, you know, I think the county needs to honor the taxpayers of the coast side. I think the county needs to honor the businesses of the coast side. They get caught up in these boondoggles. So where did millions of dollars recently go to this old, decrepit greenhouse out of town, where it was actually farmland? So what they want to do is they want to invest in this greenhouse, build housing for farm workers on top of what was farmland. So you're actually eradicating the farmland. So, you know, the county needs to be focused on where they're spending the money. I rarely see them invest in the infrastructure here on the coast side. It's always some, you know, shiny object over here and over there. They go chasing, they get collaborating with everyone else, and you know, that project won't see the light of day for 20 years. It's just going to sit there in the dirt, in the wind, in the rain. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
So I'll speak to that project. It's supported by the Farm Bureau. And the project actually isn't just farm worker housing, it's also an agricultural distribution center. So that all the farmers and ranchers.
Right.
It is.
Good for you.
It's
my road, Ray.
Well, respectfully, that'll help fix your road, because what it'll do, it'll go ahead and actually make agriculture work. We'll stop losing it. There'll be more tax dollars coming in to actually support the infrastructure on the coast.
20 years from now.
Backing on that, you guys are probably about to pay your property tax bill again. This one is, it's an insert that always comes with your property tax bill. The schools get 51%, this is the recent one. 15% goes to cities, and the county gets 26% of our property tax. Each one of them, everybody owns property, pays into that. So if the county's getting 26% and cities are getting 15%, I feel that the county should spend 15% here on the mid-coast for projects like this. I don't know exactly, maybe they're using a lot of the money to build the new office building number 3 over at the county or the other things. I don't know where they're putting their money or how they allocate this money that we get sent in every year for the property taxes, but it is concerning to me when, you know, things just don't get fixed around here and yet they say they have no money. So, but, you know, I have to pay my property taxes pretty soon and it's kind of getting to be a struggle at my age. So that's something to think about.
Yeah, and I just want to, so thank you for your comment, and yes, the pie charts are always really interesting, but every mile of road that we maintain is important, and we have 316 miles of road that we maintain, and we don't get the general fund monies to maintain our roads. It's from basically gas tax revenue. So just to be clear, I know people will always say, I pay my taxes, and I go, yeah, I get it, but guess what? It doesn't come to our department. And that's why when the supervisor's talking about money, you know, Christoph's talking about grant funding, the money that Supervisor Horsley worked to obtain on the project that's been found on the website, you know, those are other funding sources, like they're going after monies that are available to the county. It's not coming from the road fund. And definitely when we go after grant fund monies, you know, grants are something to administer and apply for and everything like that. It's not always easy, but it really does, you know, gives us the ability to do more. So leveraging grant funding is an important part of what we do, especially when we are leveraging our limited gas tax revenue, right, from the county.
So road is like a free county park. Thousands of people. Now, some of these people are counted twice because they walk down. I've counted thousands of people walking on Mirada Road. It doesn't have to be a weekend.
Yeah, you know what
When you think of the money that the county supports their parks, which they should, for goodness sakes. But here is, it's probably, I don't know where Mirada Road would rate compared to the other parks, usage-wise, for square foot or however you measure. I think more people use Mirada Road than use Delta Slide at the park around Delta Slide. I'm sure of it.
Right, well, can you think, I mean, when I've walked on Mirada Road, I try to think, do we have another road that we maintain that is that close to the water? I mean, I struggle to think of one, right?
It's called Esplanade Beach.
Oh, yeah, there's.
It's not an Esplanade.
But you see, that's, yeah, but that's.
Only one between San Francisco and Santa Cruz.
Right, but I think about that when I was walking out there, just trying to think, when have I walked on a road, or what road do I even know of that is so similar? It is very unique, and that's part of why we're here today, because of some of the unique characteristics of Mirada Road.
I'll be quiet.
Oh, no, it's okay, I don't mind, I just want to.
I think that quarter of a mile of Mirada Road is one of the most valuable quarter mile of highway in the entire county. Oh. There are 6 businesses, thriving businesses, and the tax money that comes from those businesses, plus the homeowners, is tens of thousands of dollars. Plus,
we have more smiles per mile. That's a fact.
I have people that drive from Daly City, come down in park, just to walk on.
Yeah, it's beautiful, especially on a beautiful day.
It can't be beautiful.
Yeah, right.
Anyway.
Stand out there with your tin cup.
Yeah, I really said, I'm mistaken, that we care about the road.
Yes.
I do want to, I need to give everyone a 10-minute call for public questions. And then we're going to go ahead and start there can be, people will be available for private questions, but we're going to wrap this up because we're way past the time that we reserved PCTV tonight to go ahead and video. Thank you.
I'm Dave Olson, I'm a member of the Midwest Community Council. A lot of the meetings you guys are talking about, rather than meetings. I want to make sure you guys understood what Dan said. Money that Don came up with was for studies, not for community. I used to live on Second Avenue, 2 blocks from we're not. I was 1 year, these are things that we're not. And really opposed to apartment in that area.
Opposed what? I'm sorry. Oh, okay. Okay. Yes.
Every piece of farmland we've done is destroyed the relationship with us. Farmland was done 80 ago, this cost river to the shaft. So please, as a person who used to drive a lot, and now walks a lot, and bikes a lot, I think recreation is really important in this area. So I support the management retreat. We have everybody categories. One way to perhaps those who need to add to it is the captain efficiency. But otherwise, related to recreation. Because you are never going to stop recreation. Ever.
Thank you.
Richard Patterson, I live on Mirada Road we've been there 40 years now. And I have to agree with this gentleman. Joe, yeah. It's dangerous now. With the I'm not sure what you call the light.
The channel light.
With the bikes, the electric bikes, and just cyclists, they're going 25, 30 miles an hour. And then you've got pedestrians and dog walkers, especially with, I mean, I've almost gotten hit since those things have gone up. I've almost gotten hit 3 or 4 times. And it is dangerous.
3 or 4 times when you're driving or when you're walking?
Just step out the front door.
Okay.
And had near misses by electric bikes or someone, really intent on making time with their 10 speed or whatever.
Oh, that's interesting. The speed, we're not even talking about vehicular speeds now. We're saying the bicyclists need to bring it. Okay, thank you. That's interesting.
Vehicular traffic. It's
right.
Mostly pedestrian and bicycle.
Yeah, but the speed of the bicyclist was interesting. Thank you.
I can just talk loud. I just wanted to point out, it's not just about our tax revenue or the businesses. I mean, if people come to walk along this beautiful and watch the actual crashing waves, you can go into the harbor, you don't get the crashing waves, it's pretty over there, there's nice restaurants. Not the same thing as being right there where those waves are crashing. And they come over and enjoy that and stroll. And then they're at all the other restaurants and the other businesses, and there's a ton of tax revenue that comes into this county from that street. So I just wanted to point out.
Thank you.
That its benefit goes beyond our little neighborhood there.
And real quick, the one thing that Richard was talking about, I think it's really important is right, as we got it set up on the one-way, right where we get past the restaurant and we got that really tight 4-point right there.
To Magellan.
Right there. When I had my boat, when I picked my boat out of the harbor, take it over to the house, clean it all up, there's no way in hell I can get it in there now because I literally have to go over into the oncoming lane to make that corner. But now, when people are parking right there, maybe we ought to have a red zone or no parking, at least back 2 or 3 cars. Because when you come around the corner now, all it takes is a van there, and you have to get around that, and then you got a bicycle coming at you 25 miles an hour right there. So that's kind of a choke point that probably should be, temporarily changed.
Right. I noticed in one of the pictures there's a fire hydrant. There's a car parked almost right in front of it. I think you're not supposed to do that, but okay, thank you for that. The choke point and maybe no parking for a portion of Magellan. Got it.
You can make the corner.
I think there has to be a no parking tollway zone because they know that it's a fire hydrant. Everybody parks there anyway. The only thing that seems to help is no parking tollway zone, X amount of dollar fine.
And I think Paul, is Paul still here? I think you'll tow it, won't you?
And then enforcement.
As I said earlier, I'm building a house on Magellan.
Yeah.
The street is only 40 feet wide.
Yeah.
During summer months and hot days, it constricts down to one car can barely get through.
Yeah. Right.
Fire, safety hazard. You can't put parking on the side. May add to this, the county owns the Mirada Rd property just north of the bridge that they put in there on the coastal trail. They should put parking over there. There's plenty of space. They can get on and off the highway real easy and alleviate the congestion that we have in our neighborhoods by parking people over there. Really simple solution, based off, doesn't cost a fortune. I don't even think it requires a study.
All right. Can't tell, yes, go ahead. Sorry.
Driving through today, we were noticing that in some of the areas on Mirada Road, the road started to erode within 12 inches of that center double line, which is where the road has gone down, because there's something happening underneath. We've heard about options when you have an emergency when the road has gone somewhere. If that goes quickly, does that open up emergency money for ideas like
I think
you're
you're already in emergency right now.
Absolutely.
Someone has to declare.
Yeah.
And I think the county has the power to declare.
The county does not have power?
They didn't declare an emergency when Ocean Boulevard failed out in Seal Cove. They gave us the brush off. So, by the way, we get
And I think that Ann's probably, they're probably just trying to gather all this intel and go, and they may find emergency. Powers.
I guess what I'm wondering though is that since we're seeing it so close to having not even a single lane right now in some areas, is there a line in the sand, so to speak, about when it is declared an actual emergency as opposed to we're close but not there?
Gonna hit that double yellow. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. No, I mean, there have been situations where things are happening where we have had to declare emergencies. I can remember on one of our flood control channels with what we're watching. We haven't explored that in this situation yet. I mean, you know, we're gathering information. You heard it today. We don't have all the answers. We don't have the timeline. We don't have everything that you wish we had. We don't. And this is one more sort of, avenue to explore. Is what work can we do on an emergency basis? What does that even mean?
I thought you said that you were gonna do these repairs on an emergency basis, the short-term ones.
Right, but what this question was sort of like, can you declare an emergency? Because sometimes when you declare an emergency, some of the procurement, things are a little bit different in terms of procuring contractors and whatnot, and you have to also continue to make that finding of a state of emergency into, like, the Board of Supervisors has to do it. I don't remember whether it's every 30 days because it's been a while for me, but I think that's what your point was.
That's sewer line ruptures.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly right. If the sewer company comes out and says, you're way too close to the sewer line, we could dump 40,000 gallons of raw sewage on the beach. Let's go. Let's get this happening and stuff.
I would say, great, help us with it. No, I'm just kidding. Protect the utilities. All right, were there any more questions? Yes.
It's a two-part question. Are you aware of change.org, there's a Save Mirada Road petition that already has 400 people on it?
No, but I've seen a sign that says Save Mirada Road, and maybe I've seen that website, but.
The question I have is, how can we help you mobilize faster? Like you're saying, we want feedback, and we're getting feedback today.
So
we can get petitions, the same people here are at meetings in the community all the time asking for help, but is there a way that we can mobilize faster or help you mobilize creating it, designating it as an emergency that either gets funds from the federal government or actually goes back to the Board of Engineers, because the problem is the harbor. And the problem is CRS, yes, but the harbor makes it a lot worse. And it seems like there's limited money everywhere, a lot of money in some places. There was money supposedly for one project that people feel like got traded, whatever, the bridge got built. How can we help you who run the county and also you, the supervisor, to try and make it a big enough problem, we can actually get money for this problem. And it's not just a problem for the people in Peru, but like everybody said, it's a big economic engine around here. People come here and spend a lot of money because I enjoy it in a good way.
So what I've heard them say is that they're gonna short-term make fix to the road, that they're trying to look what the intermediate term fix is. What we have to do is, what we intend to do is once the plan comes together, then we go to Congressman Eshu, or it will just still be Congressman Eshu and Congressman Mullen, to go ahead and get us and see if we can get money from them. And also, when we reach out to them, have them advocate to the Corps of Engineers to get them involved. Unfortunately, we're doing this in other places right now along the shoreline that also need money. But their involvement gets the Army Corps of Engineers to really pay that much closer attention to it. And so, what I really need, the help I really need from all of you now is to, what we really need right now is to be engaged just in what that circulation pattern looks like. I know that Ann's been taking notes on that in the short term while we get that fixed down. Right now, what we really, in the very immediate short term, what we want to make sure is that we're addressing all the safety concerns about where the current state of it. Then what will happen is, the next thing that will happen will be putting down the slurry and whatever takes place to go ahead and bring it to that intermediate short-term point. And then what I need everyone to be engaged in after that is helping. I know that there was money set aside for it at one point, but the study was never done. Believe it or not, we need the community to be engaged in that design work and that study work. And then when we go ahead and bring it to the Coastal Commission, I need people to show up for those meetings and say what they want. It really matters. I don't know if you guys, this year I had to give you an example, I had to go to the Coastal Commission this year to get a hearing to bring a pipeline of clean water to the school that was being delayed. It really matters having people engaged because that process at the Coastal Commission can take a very long time.
So these petitions we created,
Yeah.
we make them for all.
It's great.
That is effective. We should keep doing it.
Yeah, what's effective about that is if people understand that all of those people can be activated when we need them, right? So if those people signing those petitions, you have the ability to actually activate them. So when I reach out to you and I say, I need you now, and you can grab everybody on that and they can start sending emails, that's how that really gets effective. Just to have the signatures right now, we're working, we really know we have to get this done. The ability to, what makes those really effective is the time we need them. The time we need them is to activate them. And so because there's going to be timing points where we're all going to need them to get this approved, or to get the money, or to get all of, that's the time when you really activate those signatures. And so,
we can activate people when you, not just one way.
Not just one way. We know, like the signatures right now, I appreciate you went through all the trouble, but I know it has to get done. Like we're figuring out how to get that done. What really matters with the signatures when you reach out like that is to be able to activate those people so I can point them at that point where I actually have that critical decision that's being made that week, or that critical funding decision. That's when all of that becomes really effective.
We can send updates on that petition, action items.
Yeah, just on change.org you can. And so we will, and you'll see that too. What we'll try to do is get that schedule up so you know at those time to go ahead and do it. And there'll be a time, honestly, too, at the County Board of Supervisors. I don't know if you guys all know this. We were able to get the county the most, in this last Measure K cycle, more money went to the coast than anywhere else. We were really effective at getting money to Measure K projects for the coast this time for infrastructure projects. I had supervisors ask questions about that. What's going to really matter is at the time that the allocation questions come up at the board, that I can reach out to you all and say, please send those emails in, because I'm going to need support to get 3 supervisors to vote for that. Now, they did pretty good about understanding their infrastructure projects, but I'm going to need, that's the time that we activate people to get that funding done. Or even, believe it or not, when we need, if there is consultancy work that requires, that's beyond the expertise, we may need to go to the board and say, will you approve this? And so maybe at that time, I ask people to reach out. So, but I really appreciate the engagement on that. I really appreciate you reaching out to people and getting those signatures because we can use them at the right time. So, thank you.
One more.
Does it help to contact the other supervisors now, to be letting them know that this is important, like sending direct letters to the other supervisors?
So it might be helpful, but what I can tell you is more likely than not, right now, because we're still sort of in some early stages, what they're gonna do is they're gonna forward those emails to me. Yeah. I mean,
And maybe me.
Yeah, and we'll both get those emails. So, but it's not, I mean, it is good, like one email summarizing the change.org that's happening. Some of them might be interested in that holistically. Having everybody email them at once, they're not gonna, they're just gonna, I got a million emails about this and there's nothing I can do right now. But if you send them a summary email of everything that's happened to let them know this is coming and this is an issue, they'll probably look at that and ask us questions about it and it'll help prime the situation for when we do try to go get that money from them. So.
By Anna issue them.
And issue now. So, yeah, so if you want to, so Anna's great. She really is great. She's very engaged. I actually was disappointed she wasn't running again because she cares about the coast deeply. If you send emails to Anna now, saying, Anna, we have this issue, we're going to need a funding need, she'll get to work on trying to figure out how to, and especially if you say, Anna, we need you to point the Army Corps of Engineers at this, she'll be great at that. We're engaging her, but she loves the coastside community. She will be engaged on that issue with you. So.
I just want to say that I still want the two-way back with the short term, but could we at least go two-way down to Cortez? I mean, the road is really eroded past that, so that would help a lot.
All right, thank you.
The reason why she can't say yes immediately is because they have to have a transportation engineer sign
I
off.
understand, I'm just throwing my input out there.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. So, thank you.
All right, thank you so
all
much for coming.
Mateo.
Appreciate it. If you haven't signed in, sign in.